No, Indians. Roll call, we're missing Chris and No, maybe Jeremiah. See if he rolls in or not.
Jeremiah sent an email, said he wouldn't be here.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I missed that one. All right. Just no, I want to know Jeremiah.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
4:34.
Okay, so we can move ahead. Review approval of minutes from September 16th.
I believe I made all the changes that came through the email.
Tim Snyder, yeah, throughout, you didn't do a word search, but
Oh, I didn't, did I? Whoops.
Oh, did you misspell a name?
Yeah.
Snyder's with an I. So,
Oh, yeah, I
the-
see.
the-
And Alan is with a Y and,
that's
no,
okay.
it's still-
Well,
Alan
so-
with a Y.
Yeah.
Unless it's in there again.
so this looks like really detailed information he
Yeah,
gave
it
last
looks-
month. I'm really sorry I missed it.
We can send you the PowerPoint we did.
Okay,
Um,
well, it looks like you've got it, a lot of bullet points here. So
Mhm.
what was the result of it? I mean, like, we just,
It's just people can't afford to live here and work here that are in the middle to lower.
or even the middle to upper middle, but
You know,
well, can we have a motion to approve the minutes with correction of Jim's name?
I'll motion to approve them.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Oh, same sign. Okay, we got the minutes. Old business. Did you guys get chance to do the Helmsburg land inventory? No,
Well, I'm gonna say Jeremiah and Alan didn't, since they're not here.
oh, that's true.
I didn't look at it at all.
Okay, we don't know that because they're not here.
I drove through Helmsburg.
We just finished a new home there.
Since last month.
RFP for the CCP community engagement.
So this is, we've already looked at this before. Well, this is I just
Mhm.
produce the same thing. I glanced through it. We could come up with a whole bunch of potential
Other things.
corrections and different things to put in here. But when I was looking through it and thinking about redoing it the last few days, I'm just like, yeah, this is as good of a starting point as any.
Yeah.
I would think though, I don't know if we want to go through it today, if we want to all.
and the
Take it home.
community, it remind me, the community engagement plan is to talk about the county comprehensive plan?
Yes.
Okay,
To
So
take it
this-
the next step.
Yeah.
okay.
This is the plan to get all the feedback from the community and so that can be woven into the plan and almost, I would say, more importantly, make sure everybody's actually heard. Because I think it's with the process that went forward already, a lot of people don't feel like they had any input because they had those 2 meetings and I don't know that anyone went to them.
There are very, very, very few people, what, 40, I think?
Yeah, I think there was an article in the Democrat this week about community engagement. Of course, I didn't read it.
Yes, you weren't engaged.
Well, we were going to, if I remember correctly, send or craft a RFP to
Mhm.
present to the county to say, do you want to do this? And if so, here's.
And so it's the whole plan. The last couple pages there are an RFP.
Uh-huh.
I mean, obviously that has a lot of blanks in it. We're gonna have to figure out like, dates and things, but also look at scope of services, make sure that we're all aligned on the same page here to pass it along.
So if the RFP is looking for people to implement this or a company or,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Do that?
send in a proposal as to
Yeah.
what, they can do this.
and where would our money to pay them come from?
Well,
So it depends on how much this would cost us.
Yes,
Cause I know we have a little bit of a budget that still exists. And I don't know what's
We
in
do?
that fund. Yeah, a tiny little bit. And some of it's been spent on the website, but I think we have at least 5 or 6 grand sitting there that we could
Tom
tap.
was saying at the last meeting that
Yeah.
would be money available.
Yeah. And I think
Between us and the APC.
so. There's different sources for that evidently.
This time of year, it's a shell game.
Right.
No kidding. So let's take a few minutes to look through this and make sure that, I think the first part, you want to go through the whole thing or just the RFP?
Kind of rip through.
Okay,
We might as well go. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason.
So, I guess I want to start first, Tim, with where is the county plan now? Like, I know that it came back to you guys, right? And it is, I know you're busy with budget, but,
It's a on shelf.
okay,
It's incomplete.
okay.
Doesn't include the entire county.
yeah. So it's on the bus.
Plus,
Okay, so this would be helpful to you, I guess.
it would include the entire county.
Okay,
We go out to the communities and touch.
okay. Which community? It was only in Nashville then?
I mean,
What communities weren't touched? I guess I don't.
we could look at the census tract. I think Chris got a map on census tract.
Yeah. And so something I did not put into this yet because it's not, there was a conversation last month about what was the grant we didn't get?
No, OOR, no,
We
the
did get the red grant
red.
Yeah.
and we didn't get the OR grant, so we're applying for that one.
Yeah, and
It's red grant is.
Rural economic development.
The reason we didn't get that because we had no community involvement in that, which that was the problem. We were hoping they would help us solve, but.
They want us to do
That's
it.
22.
yeah,
You had a list?
Well, Courtney Hewitt, she put together a list of, did a really nice article on communities past and present in Brown County, historical kind of stuff. And if you overlay that with the census tract, you get an idea of all the communities that are out there. It's pretty much asking what they want for their particular area. I bet you a few of them will just say, leave us back alone. Okay, nice to know.
Mhm.
Right?
But right now, they're not represented, they're not in. Tend to overlook.
Because ultimately with a comprehensive plan and you get everybody's input on it, it serves as a basis for any land use and zoning ultimately. At least it's just a basis for it, but
yeah.
at least you get all the counties.
And we had discussed last time, maybe starting to try to define those. This does not define any communities, but it does say in the RFP and in the plan that, hey, go identify 5 communities
Yeah,
to have 5 meetings.
Yeah.
So it's
Part
kind
of
of
it.
built into this,
Yeah.
that you have to identify.
Well, he was talking about that in the housing too, or where, there's a lot of the people that are like south of town and out in the boonies are like a big group. So,
Mhm.
Yeah, that
it was called the
southwest or southeast Brandon County, because I think you're thinking Van Buren Township, right?
well, I mean, that's
Part of
to
it,
the west of it.
yeah, there's probably 5 different groups out there. 5 or 6, so. Well, let's just, lead us through this
Okay.
and see if we have any input on it.
So, the purpose of it is what we've talked about, broad, inclusive, public input.
Okay.
The goals are right there, they're pretty simple, collect diverse and representative input, ensure geographic equity, leverage both in-person and online tools for broad access, create opportunities, use community feedback to direct and inform vision, goals, and strategies of the comprehensive plan, right? So just
Pretty basic.
hear what people have to say and then use it.
Yeah.
Engagement structure. So this is where we would have to identify, or whoever would do this RFP or us at some point would have to identify the separate communities, but basically saying have 10 meetings,
Mhm.
5 of them topically based, kind of identifying our big stakeholder groups, 5 of them geographic based to identify those communities.
Mhm.
That way, I think if you had those 10 meetings, it'd be really hard for anyone to say they did not have the opportunity to be heard. I'm sure that there'd still be some grumbling, but it's government work, so that's, I feel like gonna
Yeah.
happen, but that way we're pretty much covered. I did put in there, the idea that we could use the vote centers,
Mhm.
because there are 5 of those
Mhm.
strategically located around the county, and that would kind of
Mhm.
make sense as a concept. Now, I don't know, I know the vote centers, I think, are all schools, so I don't know that they. these
4 out of
actual-
5.
I don't know if these meetings could actually take place in a school, but we could use that sort of general location area
But, yeah.
to dictate spaces.
If you're doing it in the evening.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
And they're good places. I mean, they are geographically located and people feel comfortable there in their community
Yeah.
centers.
And
And they have a gym
then
and
they know where they are.
area.
Yeah.
Everybody knows where they are, so.
Yeah. And there, if I'm not mistaken, with voting centers, the idea was to make sure that it was kind of equal amounts of people going to each one, right?
No.
Okay.
No, that's really what precincts are.
Right.
And
But
this is,
equal access, I
yeah,
guess.
this is just one in each township and then there's a 5th one at Church of the Lakes.
And anybody can vote in anyone.
And anyone
Yeah.
can vote at any one of them. So the idea is that you can vote anywhere along your way to work.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to your own precinct.
So, yeah, I mean, that would,
I guess the other piece I would add, and I don't know it's appropriate for here, is just written comments. You don't have to go to a meeting and show up at a date and time in order to give comments. So as long as you've got an email or a PO box or something, some other way. I think we just imagine comment that way, but
Yeah.
I'd probably rather sit at home and write something more carefully and submit it. than-
yeah, so we can add something in there about a written option, and then as you said, that I was also thinking, there should probably be a virtual option too.
Yeah.
For a meeting.
Yeah.
Because why not? Wouldn't be the,
Well, you want to reduce barriers. So
Yeah.
the barrier is I have mobility problems, or I don't have transportation, or
I don't have a computer.
I don't have a computer. Yeah. It's too far away, mostly that I'm working at that time, or I'm not, it's mostly I'm not available, which is why I was trying to think of something that's not time-based.
Yeah. Maybe a written survey.
so then that takes us to objectives. And objectives are to educate people, explore the strengths and weaknesses of kind of the plan as it exists now. Identify priorities and gather actionable recommendations, which is kind of fluffy as a set of objectives, but basically, goes back to hear what people have to say and then
Yeah.
document it and
Yeah.
get it in a way we can work it into the plan. Meeting format, obviously, whoever did the RFP would have some leeway here, but the idea is have a presentation, make sure it's interactive, right? So if we're gonna talk zoning, give people a zoning map,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? And then tell people how to read it.
Yeah.
Huh?
There's Down to the, there's no online, so.
No, there's no online one, but we can get them printed. And especially, I think, just so people know what is the zoning in your neighborhood and what does it mean?
Mhm.
Because I know particularly around R2, there are some
Mhm.
surprising things in there that not everybody realizes. And then make sure that in the meeting format, everybody knows how to get their feedback in and they have clear expectations. Document everything. In this case, I said, throw it back to us and then we can analyze through it and make your themes and concerns. And obviously whoever does the RFP could do that as well, but I think it's important on something like that, there's a double look at it.
And you might want to analyze by the redevelopment commission or identified group, or in case we're not here.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Because they might have want a special work group of
Mhm.
commission.
And then that last part there, just make sure everybody has a clear understanding of how their feedback influences the plan. So that
Mhm.
make sure everybody feels heard. Then we have our little accessibility and inclusion, right? Make sure that they're in at good times, make sure that we have print and digital format materials, make sure that there is an online engagement portal. So that would cover a little bit about what we talked about before. And then, of course, make sure everywhere that we're doing it's ADA compliant, so that there's no issues there.
That is why you need to be at the schools.
Mhm.
So the additional engagement, we go back to that online portal, print surveys. I just came up with some places that we might be able to get them out. I'm not sure what and community centers means, to be real honest with you, but I'm sure we could find
There-
places that are,
There are 2 senior centers
okay.
and the Y,
And the one.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a senior center.
essentially.
Oh, golly, Scott.
The nursing home,
Hey.
the 2 apartment buildings that have, older people. So they
Yeah,
have
okay.
a lot of things you could call that.
I'd put et cetera there. ETs. Okay.
But that way it's kind of open-ended and
Mhm.
or whoever does the RFP, whomever can figure that out. Advertise them out, right? I think Democrat would be a big one, just to make sure, and I don't think that any of this advertisement here would have to be paid for. The only thing that I probably need to take off is the RDC Facebook page, because I've tried like 3 times to figure out how to get control of that and never get a response, so
Wow.
I just kind of gave up.
Okay.
So it's out there, but nobody's refreshed it in years.
The only thing I can find from the last couple of years, because I think
Justin,
Justin had it,
I'm sure he did.
and then the secretary a year or 2 ago, that I can find one post where he's like, hey, who's in charge of this? Just as I am.
Uh-huh.
And I think, because Jeremiah got a hold of Justin, I think he transferred the ownership.
Mhm.
And I've tried to get a hold of that person and I'm getting nowhere, so
Okay.
I could probably figure out who it is and track them down.
Yeah,
and
no, you're good.
there hasn't been anything posted on it, I think, since 2020. So I'm not that worried about it. But we can make some flyers, get those around, and then the Brown County website. And so, yeah, here we have at least one virtual, have that web-based
Mhm.
portal. That would probably, I mean, if the RDC, if we're the ones doing it and we saw that site, we still exist, we can do that all through there. And we have a timeline. The timeline has no dates. Partially because until you have somebody identified to do it, right?
There, yeah.
Who knows when that's gonna happen?
Yeah.
We could sketch in some dates here. I don't know if you guys have any thought, but
Well, that's what they would give us, right?
yeah.
Yeah. We would want
I don't know
at
how long.
least have final plan approval and they can work their way back.
Yeah.
So.
And we'd also have to figure out on that, on the draft and final plan approval piece, we'd have to, I might just. It's really not in the RLA, Vic. I'm thinking our stuff might just stop at input, analysis and summary,
Mhm.
because otherwise we're gonna have to manage other pieces of the government. That sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah.
So we'll just take off those last 2 lines. So we'd figure out that input and analysis summary.
Well, if it's being released by the county and coming back to the county, they would need to at least know what's a target day to have it
Yeah.
completed.
Is there a target date on that, Tim?
For
The comp plan?
What would be a reasonable one?
I don't know, good goal feet within 6 months. I mean, it may take a lot longer. Well, this town spent about a year
Maybe.
in a compact area with 1,000 people and plenty of money.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm thinking vote centers, we did like February to about November 1st to get through all of the approvals. I think we got one more, just the council and the election division.
Well, approval's not that big a deal.
No, but just for us to get it all done, you know, from
Yeah.
start to finish.
That's the, I think that's the easier process. Get a good plan together.
Yeah.
So I would say, you know, definitely by July 1, 26.
Yeah. And I can, when I redo this, I'll sketch in some kind of
Tentative date.
tentative 2026 dates in that.
Do you
Yes.
need to, or isn't that what they're gonna tell us? I don't know how long each of those steps would take.
Well,
I mean, I guess the guy, whoever gets the proposal could counter the dates,
Yeah.
but
well, if we're saying we want it done by July 1st, then
Yeah.
whoever submits this proposal, will say I can do this by
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
I guess.
because if we leave it open-ended,
Yeah,
they'll take forever.
yeah.
We'll never get things done.
So I'd at least put an end date in it. Okay.
We have a meeting framework, which is pretty basic.
Mhm.
And most of it is, welcome, introduce whoever's facilitating and introduce, talk a little bit about the overall project. Get into the actual area around, right? So that topic or area brief, whether if we're talking tourism, it would be about tourism. If it's about, I don't know, the lakes, it would be about the lakes.
Mhm.
And then spend the vast majority of the time just letting people give feedback and tell people what they think, and whether that's a breakout or a round table, however that works, the
Yeah.
person facilitating can figure that out. If it's breakouts, you have to do the report back, do some open Q&A, wrap it up. So meant to be a pretty straightforward 90-minute feedback session meeting. Put a little materials checklist on there just to help whoever's doing the RFP kind of understand the scope. And then evidently put some facilitation tips too. But then just submit notes and collect feedback to the redevelopment commission, summarize main themes for inclusion in the community input summary report, flag specific concerns. For
Yeah.
further review.
Again, I would say, or a designated group or what. In case we're not here.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Appendix P is the stakeholder outreach framework, which basically just says identify people that are involved in these things and send them emails and get them to show up to a meeting. And we have a community outreach toolkit. This is just all of the different materials that were discussed throughout the front part of it. It's just them in a different way, and it gives an idea of all the different pieces of media and
mhm.
design that may be needed to help get this out the door. I would assume anybody that would do an RFP on something like this would be more than capable of handling all of this.
Right.
And there's a feedback survey summary sample / template.
Would this be a mail survey?
Well, probably not. Probably not. I mean, I guess it depends on the RFP and the budget and all that. The idea here would be, this is what would be available at those community centers and the post office and schools or wherever we could get this in.
With the option to do it online?
Yeah, there'd be an online option, but just very basic. Here's what somebody thinks. And then a little idea of a summary template to give to whoever's doing the RFP so that we have some requirements on that summary, and then it turns out as a actionable document. And then there is the actual RFP piece itself. which I will fully admit right now, I've never written one of these things before. So I just took a bunch of information I found online about it, plugged it into AI and spit out something. And
you
it looked-
did.
It looked basically like the ones I read that other people wrote that are probably smarter than me, so I determined this was a good place to start. If we have anybody that knows how to write RFPs, maybe they should look at this part.
Well, let's look at it. Let's see. Development plan. Scope and services.
I don't know. Tim, are there any county specific requirements, government things for an RFP that it must include?
I don't know, I checked. We've got quite a few templates.
Yeah.
Picture conformed.
But to me, the big piece here was just the deliverables, right? Agendas, facilitation materials, stakeholder public meeting facilitation, completed community feedback summaries, digital survey design distribution summary, and then a final community engagement plan report suitable for incorporation into the comprehensive plan. Budget.
Your last bullet there.
Yeah.
To the final community engagement report. And you were saying for integration or I was saying
Deliverables. On the one below, yeah.
you skipped ahead. Okay.
I did. Because to me, it's just kind of repetitive.
Okay. Okay.
But it's how they all seem to be written, so I
All right.
followed along. I didn't put a budget in here because I have no clue what that budget actually is, so,
Yeah, though that should be done.
yeah. I think that's what we need as far as proposal requirements. That's the information we need to do an RFP. But again, we'll have to
If there's a,
check the county guidelines.
yeah, and we'll put some timelines in there. Is there? What do I say? We think the county has a format we can use to insert this. Do we have a contact person in case anybody has any questions on this? 'Cause I'm sure people will.
I mean, they would have to set it up for advertising and all that too, or send it out to whoever does this.
I would assume. Don't want to assume this. Would that be me? I don't know.
How do RFPs work, Tim, when they go up from the county?
They advertise them
You're
in,
supposed to,
yeah.
It just supposed to be, do you have a contact person, questions, contact so-and-so?
well, you've got to have some place to respond to, right?
Yeah, usually they'll put them out like, in the paper, and then they'll have to respond to whoever would be responsible.
Have an address, probably. Us, we have a county address.
But we don't have to identify a specific person if they have questions.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think our next step is? This is good. Thank you for exploring. You and Mr. AI.
Don't, I was gonna say, don't give me too much credit.
I try not.
Well, I think next thing is for me to go through and make those handful of corrections we pointed out. And I can do that, and then, get one of those templates from the
From the
county.
county. Insert it in there.
Yeah,
And then we would use our,
Yeah, line up the money and put it up for proposal.
and use our money to pay for the ads and stuff. Would it need to go in front of the commissioners for approval prior to sending out?
If there's money involved, or what.
I think the council.
Yeah,
if we
probably
have money in our budget,
heads up.
Yeah, So
I mean, I
what's,
don't think it's gonna be, we don't have to propose the budget. Whoever
right,
is
but
doing that is in the RFP, so, I mean, we just have to be able to put it out there and see what it might cost us to do it.
Yeah.
well, we're gonna have to pay to have an ad run in the paper.
So who reads those ads? Like, how does it actually get to people? Do they like look for these on county
Mhm.
websites?
Mm.
Really? Okay, it's just
And-
an area I don't know anything about.
It depends. We make contact of people we may know and put it in the paper, people follow the.
I looked at those.
And there are a handful of websites out there that are in the business of culminating all these county and local government RFPs
Really?
that you can then go on and just find them all and bid on them.
Yeah, that's really, really small print, but yeah, there's somebody sitting in an office somewhere reading those things. So who would we go, okay, who would we go to get a template? Who would have a template for this that,
Got one, it's pretty generic, just basic things.
but who would we, you will look? Okay,
The other thing too, that I can do, is just look at a couple county RFPs and
yeah,
copy them.
insert.
Well, I just actually sent you one that we're gonna talk about here in a minute, which is the one the Quality of Life Work Group just came up with, so you can take a look at that.
We need either an email or a post office box or something where they need to send them, right? You have that in there?
Yeah, there's an email in there. I'll figure that piece
Okay.
out.
So what does everybody think? We move ahead with this?
If the edit's done, make sure what we did, this is something I think we need to actually vote on, right?
Yeah, if we want to send it forward to the commissioners.
Well, an EPC would be a partner too. What we could do is run it by them. Because they're really, we have the lead on that, then we approve, whatever they approve through them, so they're the go through kind of person.
When does
Kayla?
the APC meet?
Well, I fine tune this a little bit, and I can run it by Kayla and look for any initial concerns they may have. What'd be nice too is just do a small scale on these. We could probably do it within the group. It's like, okay, you have a little meeting, now what? Because we've got the zoning maps are in the comp plan, and then of course, the other handouts would be the districts, information on the districts, what goes in each district. And just do it here, educate ourselves here. What would you want as an outcome from one of these meetings? We're the guinea pigs. So you know exactly what we're expecting from, the RFP.
We, as far as the commissioners,
We'd be in the county. It's like, you're educating folks on what zoning is in their area. And how that is described, what district they're in, what other district they may overlay, and then what can go in each of those districts.
Mhm.
And that's general information, and it's like, here's what we have. I mean, and then general information, if you've got the infrastructure for those particular areas might be helpful as well. Like the town's got a master wastewater plan that goes out to their surrounding areas. County has one. So if you're going into bean blossom, so to speak, might want to know, what that planned infrastructure is. There's, the lakes for the most part. I think on the current plans, leave us alone. I think you probably get a lot of that down in Elkinsville Story. Leave us alone. Well, what's that mean, leave us alone? How's it zoned? And
Right.
what don't you want, or what would you want, in your particular area? And then think about that's the thorniest issue, I think, for commissioners or even for the APC and the BZA. It's like when you start messing with people's neighborhood, you get their attention and they show up at meetings.
Mm-hmm. I guess Pumpkin Ridge is a good example of
Oh.
that.
Yeah, you named.
Yeah.
Almost, Lamb Ridge was another. You know, they wanted to commercialize that hotel or whatever it is up there. That packed the room.
Mm.
Bill Monroe Music Park, and they expanded that. That packed the room several times. And the thing that always hits me is that the Warren property where he was in an R2, but he's also in the Lake District. Well, the Lake District allows a lot more to go in there. And so he had wanted to have a residence and a boat repair thing. That was interesting. We would have thought that was possible, but it was under that district. So it'd be nice to know, at least you educate people whether or not they want to learn or not, is, hey, here's here's what can go on in your neighborhood.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
That's it. And I'll tell you, they know that, and they've got the list. You know, it's a real simple list of what goes in each of those zoning. You educate people on what that is, and they have a chance to say yay, no, or don't care. Fine, I did my job.
Mhm.
And then the same thing is part of that comprehensive plan is really, when you talk zoning, is how you get a zoning change. You know, what can change. And I think that's just basic information. I think that a property owner would need to know whether or not they want to know it. It affects their property.
So,
So I mean, so if you look at that, you know, you get those handouts or graphics around the table, you know, you're educated. Part of those sessions is you go to,
mhm.
how do you spell zone?
Mhm.
How many different zones are there? What's allowed in each zone? A lot of people want to put a 24/7 Bean Blossom Boogie in your neighborhood. You know, we're gonna have the Bean Blossom Boogie at different locations throughout the county, have 24/7 music and, you know, primitive camping and an open bar. Is that okay with you?
we had to describe what that was to someone, and it was rather difficult to describe.
Party.
The days
Okay.
of old.
So it's those kinds of things, you know, and just, you know, so people are aware.
Well, and maybe in the RFP, we could have an emphasis on that education piece. Because I was thinking back to the Nashville town plan. When I was there, that was kind of breezed over. You know, I mean, yeah, we had a map and it was different color coded and this, that, and the other, but it was like, what can you put in orange that's in my backyard, you know?
Yeah, we
and-
didn't really discuss that.
No.
Yeah.
See, but
That's what I
That's the
need to
rub.
know. Yeah, yeah,
That's what people need to know. And it's
Yeah.
only, I don't know, 6 or 8 pages
yeah.
in the zoning thing. And I've got that particular handout. So,
Mhm.
and then it makes you wonder.
Yeah,
120 pages.
Is that it?
Information.
I mean, that's important stuff to have. And people ask, why is this in there?
yeah, yeah,
Then the question comes up is, you know, what's in that area now?
Yeah.
So really educating people in their particular area. That's what's nice if you break these things down by,
mhm,
and census tracts seem good. I don't know whether it's going to be logical kind of mapping, but
mhm,
the census tract gets you to the economic data.
right,
And you ask folks, because I've been in enough of those to get a sense of how diverse some of these areas are. Collins
Okay.
Road,
oh,
I
yeah,
mean, we packed the room on that one, when they wanted to open up that one. That was interesting. A lot of history been on that, people that were experienced with that for 20, 25 years and came in and told you, hey, here's why it was closed and why we wanted to keep it closed.
mhm,
Yeah,
And you had people from throughout the different regional interests in the state come to that one.
mhm,
And they talked about the wilderness part, the opportunities, the jewel of the,
Yeah.
you know, of that particular area of the county. Pumpkin Ridge, a whole unique thing.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
And we don't want.
we moved to the boonies for a reason.
Well, and you think.
And you do.
But, you know, it's just 4 miles south of 46, but they
Yeah.
got that sign on there, but you go get back in there and, you know, and when you talk about the road, the travel, the accidents, the danger, the local stories, I mean, pretty much meetings would leave us alone.
mhm, mhm,
And there's a lot of folks that want gravel roads. For the main reason is it limits traffic.
mhm,
And I think it's hard for a lot of people to understand, says, why wouldn't you want your road paved? Well, they'll tell you.
mhm.
They want it rule. They can hear you coming. And,
And
And
you
it
tend
cuts
to
down
drive
traffic.
really slow.
well, that's a nice thing to have in a comprehensive plan, because that's part of the culture.
Mhm,
You get a lot of people down here thinking, you know, it's just a matter of time for the road gets paved. Good luck. we're never gonna have that kind of money.
Yeah.
Although if it's Pumpkin Ridge, we come, the state can come up with $8 million.
They came up with a lot.
We haven't figured that one out.
How many other roads could we pave with that?
Oh, my
right?
gosh.
You know,
I'm thinking open up to Indian Hill. That's another one. But that particular area. So each area is unique. It's a unique part of the culture that's just not told in our story.
Right.
And that's a good thing. That's what attracts people down here. But yet those are kind of invisible. When you talk about the planning, it's always development oriented. Well, a lot of folks don't want that. That's why they're here. That's the source of our revenue is people choose to live here and they generate that income somewhere else.
Yeah.
And just leave us alone.
Well, especially if, because I've seen a lot of different numbers, but if the numbers that Jim was showing last time are true, because I've seen things that say population's going up, I've seen things that say it's going down. I haven't looked into it enough to have any opinion on which makes more sense, but if population is going down, we probably don't need more development.
Well, or if we do, what kind?
Yeah,
What kind makes sense, if
Yeah.
that's one of the factors.
so we definitely don't need like another gas station or something if the population's going down.
No, I don't,
Yeah.
I've seen more numbers showing a positive increase than I do negative in population.
I have too, but there's.
Well, and it's just a prediction, they have no,
well, and it depends on what your facilities are, are you gonna attract more people? Are you
be good with who you got.
but turn all the paved roads into gravel and people don't want to come, I don't know.
Not doing that. We've got a couple 20-year-old stories on problems where that happened
Yeah,
and they're still waiting for the road to be paved.
yeah. Oh,
So that doesn't happen too often.
So our game plan here is Chris is gonna make revisions
Yes.
and probably shoot them out to us to see if
Yeah,
we,
and then I guess what, if we have to vote on it, then we just go back over.
well,
again
we can vote on the plan to go ahead.
Yes, we
Yeah,
can do that.
yeah, and we will just serve as a review of your
Okay.
RFP. And then that goes to Tim to scale it to the commissioners. Yeah. So,
But I'd really like to have a proof of concept so everybody understands what we expect out of these meetings, including the area plan commission. That's like, because that's kind of different when you're going out to a more diverse community.
so do we need to tighten up what we've just talked about and what our outcomes are? Have an overreaching goal of what we just said? Or do you think it's stated clearly enough?
It's a really difficult question, right? Because stated clearly, I think it's all pretty clear, but I also wrote it, so I'm the worst person to have an opinion there. And it's amazing sometimes what people can read in a document that you either didn't put in or did.
Well, and I'm thinking so often these groups have a boilerplate response and process. And if we're really clear as far as what we've just been talking about, that we need to know specifically from as many people as possible as far as what they want, and where they see the county going. Otherwise, like we have with the current comprehensive plan, it's just a bunch of fluff. We'll take your best shot at that. Let's at least have a motion to proceed with the process.
I motion to proceed with the commission or whatever we have the motion comprehensive survey plan. Does it even have a name?
Community
The-
engagement plan.
Engagement, okay.
Yeah.
Community engagement plan.
I will second that.
And I will vote yes, and I assume you, Everybody, a vote,
Yes, yes.
since you made the motion in the second, I would assume you would. Okay, let's move ahead with that, and thank you for putting that together.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Something is coming out of this,
You're gonna have something,
something.
something.
Okay,
Okay,
Amy, Economic Development Commission, quality of life and all that stuff.
so I just sent you guys, all of you, some copies of the minutes from the prior meetings, and there's a lot in there. What I was really looking for is we also wrote a grant in the last 2 months. I missed the meeting, but there was somebody from Rural Engagement who came, and I think they said, there's a grant, so long as you apply for it by September 30th. So we like, holy crap, applied for a grant really, really quick. I cannot find a copy of that grant because I know one whole day, we were,
Is it to the state?
no, it's to the IU Rural Engagement people.
Oh,
What
really?
is it? The Center for Rural Engagement. So I missed the day when the person came and talked about it. So I didn't, but apparently there was a deadline. We thought, hey, we can get this done. So they submitted something, and that's what I can find right now. But you do have the minutes from, I think, August and October, which are bookending that grant. And you can kind of see from there, there's just a whole lots of stuff. But it is also the same discussions we've had here. It's just with a bigger group,
Mhm.
and it has some money. So just to go back a minute, the reason the quality of life group exists is that July 1st, we started collecting an extra 3% innkeeper tax. So we've always collected 5% since some date in the past. That's what funds the convention and the CVC and the CVB. And so, and that 5% will continue to do its thing and be distributed in the way it's always been done. They took the opportunity, the idea is to take the opportunity of this new amount of cash that's going to be coming in and say, what can we do to double, triple economic development with this money? And Tim, if any point I say this incorrectly, let me know. But the initial piece of it is that this money can only go for things, and it's a very broad statement, but it can go for tourism. So there are a lot of things you can't pay for with this grant. But of course, many things still fall, just as we've been talking about,
Mhm.
fall into something tourism. So the goal at the moment is to take some of the burden off the county budget
Mhm.
to pay for some repairs that have badly been needed for a long time, with the Pioneer Village, with the fairgrounds, with the covered bridge, with the overlook. A whole bunch of different Deer Run, right?
Mhm.
So projects that have been sitting and waiting for a long time, just needing money. So I think my understanding is that that's really our first priority, is to do that, take it out of the county budget so they can use their money for something else, and we can use it because all of those things are tourism related. Does that sound right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Big chunk.
Yeah, so I think that's sort of our first priority.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Is this budget is not any separate from the normal county budget, right? So does the committee actually hold any sway over the budget, or is the committee just
Wait a minute. That we'll get to there in a minute.
Okay.
So at the moment, it was started as a group that was to look at what should we do with this money, and it's intended to, again, I don't know, there's 15 people or more in the group right now, intended to represent all of the different areas of I'm there in schools. I think we have 2 or 3 I think we had 3 council members on it. John Elliott from the foundation, Lynn Miller from the art gallery, the Tadlocks, and Kevin Alt from the restaurants and hotels and that kind of thing. So and the Friends of Myers are there, and I think her husband is here from like fire and emergency management or something. So really trying to encompass a lot of different areas and talk about, as part of that group, what is the quality of life that we wanted to improve in Brown County. So it starts as a discussion group, really, about, what should we do with the money. The first thing they did, I think, was the smartest thing they did, is they now are not going to be paying the innkeeper's tax basically by hand to the auditor's office. And one of the reasons people weren't paying it very quickly was because it was a whole separate process on paper. They could pay their sales tax very quickly on a site that went to the state, but they had to go through this other sort of laborious process to do something different within keeper's tax. We have now made it automatic, just like a sales tax, so that it will just be really easy to go tap, tap, tap and
The whole
send it
8%.
up there. I assume so. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're hoping that it'll be easier to pay. So, you know, people will be better about paying it. I think there's always been some question about, do we really know how much is out there? Like, I think it depends somewhat on voluntary payment, but that's a separate issue. Anyway, so we started discussing, just like we did, what is an economic development commission? And there's a difference between a commission and a council. Yes. So we discussed the differences between those, discussed whether or not that's something we want to do at all, and then brought in some people. One of the sets of minutes you have is we brought in some people who do EDCs in, I think, other similar sized counties, like Martin County,
I think I heard that one. Yeah.
Vigo, was it Vigo? A couple of other
Yeah.
counties. And they had, I was here that day, and it was a really great discussion to hear about how they started. How do they operate? What do you do all day? Like, how is this, you know, that's kind of the questions we've been having. Like, what do we do? What do they do? How are they funded? You know, all those kinds of questions. So we asked a lot of those questions. And then from that, there was a decision made about that we would need some kind of economic development group that would then manage this money and decide for the future, where's this money going to go and how are we going to use it and how can we use it for economic development? So then the last thing that we did was what you will see there, I think October 1st, is called an RF. No. Let me stop. My tongue is going too fast. And let me find it here.
ECRFP.
Yes, so it is I've lost it now. So it is also sort of what we're just doing here. It is an RFP to have somebody tell us what should our economic development group look like. And what would do, and then these are some sort of bylaws that we were setting up as our group. And the intent is for our group to disappear. And then but it sort of morphs into this other group that has a paid person who is, again, the thing that we were talking about, somebody that a business can go to and say, tell me about economic development here. And I want to, Alan wants to, buy a property somewhere and open a business and, help me find that. And, what does that look like? So, so we wrote some of those bylaws. We wrote the bylaws and an RFP, I think, that here's what we would like to do and tell us how to do it, because we want to do it correctly. And I think that's important. The commission, or I forget again whether it's a council or commission, but it is the group that is pretty much the same people. However, when you look at the group, it is pretty much the same group. It's just that this informal group will go away because it has no actual power. And then it will then morph into this economic development group that has some of the same representation that can help guide what that'll look like in the future.
Yeah.
So
in the full 3%, I have in my head, it's like 250,000 by the end of
I don't
this
remember the
fiscal
numbers.
year.
It's a good chunk of money.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you the amounts.
Right.
It's enough. I mean, it is a pretty nice amount of money for us to think about how do we then multiply that and turn it into something else instead of just spending it somewhere and seeing it disappear.
And that's a full year. It won't be fully realized till the end.
Right. We've only done 6 months right now, or 5 months. So, so I mean, that's the concept that we're working with here, which, as I said, is sort of what we discussed here. They did also discuss, I think, having an RDC, but and again, I think isn't RDC necessary if there's going to be a TIF somewhere?
Yes.
We don't have a TIF. The town has TIFs, but we don't. So so anyway, that's what we've been working on, and then the grant for economic rural engagement Again, I need to find it to really remember exactly what that was. But that
Mhm.
was something that the group said, hey, we could apply for that right now. And so they did. So I don't know where that is. I think it was the September 30th deadline. And that was the reason that we met for 2 hours every week to kind of get all of these
Amazing.
things done.
So they're
So-
proposing to develop a commission and have full-time employees and all that. fun stuff.
Now, that would require then council and commissioner approval,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Well, yeah.
Definitely council.
I was just looking at the startup costs.
Because innkeeper's tax money goes through the county. So the council would have,
It's county money.
Council oversees the.
Yeah, right.
Tax.
so
Well, and again, we have 3 council members on the committee. So it's Gary and Darren and Scott are all on it. And Kevin is on it from the commissioners. So we have that agreement and involvement from the very beginning that they've been helping guide the process. So that is now I have missed some, so that's why I feel like I have a couple of gaps. And so I'm relying on the minutes, but that's kind of the big picture. And you can see in there, if you look at the August minutes, for example, as I was rereading them, it is just a big discussion that we were having about, what does quality of life mean? What does tourism mean? And what are the things what are our goals with this money? So it's been an all-encompassing discussion. And it is kind of nice to see that it is actually
coming.
like and I think I have to give credit that as far as I can see that Brian Tadlock did all of the writing on all of those things. And then we just kind of edited them just like you guys did right here, as we edited them so that they were, said what we wanted to say, but he did all of the hard work of getting him started. So, yeah. Does that,
Make sure
does that,
you're doing the right thing.
Tim, does that sound like your understanding? Did I miss anything?
No, I appreciate you. Just like-
And again, I forwarded you guys a bunch of minutes. And if I find that community engagement grant, I think I came in and we were writing it and sending it out the door, and I missed the day where we decided, and I missed the person who was here.
So initially, the money, this first 6 months, money is gonna go to fixing up fairgrounds. I mean, do they have a limitation on when the cut?
I don't know the exact details of it. I think that was just, there's been this area we've not been able to repair, and those are all things that this money can be spent for.
Well, and then the meeting I was at, they were talking about they needed grant application. They needed some process instead of just
Right.
sitting there saying, oh, we'll give that to Park and
Right.
Rec. And they wanted a process
Right.
and the foundation John said the foundation would share their
That's right.
process with them so that everybody has an equal right to apply. So given that the bulk of the money wouldn't come in, we only got 6 months in,
Yeah, but
it's going to be a while before anybody can apply.
it's working on the process so that by the time,
Mhm.
you do have some money to give away and to spend, then
You
you
have
will have a
Plan in
process
place, so.
and a plan in place. And that's why it's kind of in a hurry. Like we would really want to get this set up
Uh-huh.
so that, at the moment it is just kind of collecting, but here's what we want to do. And here's how we can spend it efficiently and think about all the things we've been thinking about.
Yeah.
About how to use it.
So that 3% is going to the quality of life or economic development commission?
It's going to the
Well,
council
it's go,
to budget.
yeah, and
It's the
this,
council's money. It's standard income for tax money that goes to the council to budget.
but 3%.
This is a whole thing that they've created to determine how to budget it. But it's just tax dollars.
Yeah, but it can only go for certain types of things. And it's a very broad term, but it's basically tourism. So it can't go to, I don't know,
Yeah, but that
fix
also
the
doesn't
sewers
mean
or
that
whatever.
that money couldn't be put to things and then money that was already budgeted there moved to something else.
And that's what they're doing.
So they're just opening up,
It's just an open.
It's just
It's
little,
budgeting.
doing little,
it's a shell game.
Right.
Yes.
Sort
well,
of.
but it is the opportunity to do what we were talking about
Yeah,
that we don't have the authority
just
to do.
freeing up budget
Mhm.
for other things that, this will, like you say, it's just a redistribution of
Yep.
money.
Mhm.
Pigeonhole money that, a lot of the money the county has can only be used for this or that. So lots of grants, of course, are very specific.
But it would be nice to be able to, yes, fund all those projects, but I preached this so long, you still need some economic development person or XYZ person
Right.
or some kind of group that oversees that. A person that you can call and to
Right.
figure things out that would
There's an
have a-
office. Yeah.
have a county comprehensive plan that they can refer to and help make it happen.
And the idea is that person would be, I think, the office we were talking about is there's an office in the CVB that could be used for this person, trying to, again, keep it just very, very simple as a one-person office, I think, at the moment.
It's Convention Visitors
Yeah,
Bureau,
sorry.
and there's Convention and Visitors
Commission.
Commission. Yeah, and the Visitor Center is run by the CBC.
CVC has the 5%, and then they decide where it goes, and then it goes to the CVB, which determines is an agency that determines tourism dollars and the advertising. But that had been decided a long time ago, that 5% is to go to promote Brown County in general.
Anyway,
So
it's,
that is what is happening. Brian Tadlock would give you a much better description of it than I, but
you did well, you did.
Yeah. that is what is happening. And and it has been kind of I think it's a kind of a therapeutic thing, is that we all talk about these things all the time, but how do we move forward and do something about it? So this seems to be what other communities have done. And the ones that we talked to were also very small communities. They were like Martin County is probably as small as we are. So.
And I'm going to put my other hat on
Yeah.
it. And the one thing I saw in that group was housing was missing.
Mhm.
And I was glad Jim at least got to one of the meetings, but
Well, that was why I said you should go. I think that was the one I said, you really ought to go. I can't go, but you should go.
well, yeah.
But the problem is, I would say, as we were talking about the groups that should be represented, I said, who else besides Habitat represents housing? Because you represent a very specific segment of housing. You don't and you guys are great, like all the numbers and things that you
Mhm.
collect, but really who else does represent housing? Guess we don't really have development
Well,
people like you would in other communities.
we tried a couple of years ago and we had the housing.
Builder in the county.
We had the housing partnership, and the
Yeah.
goal was to try to bring in developers to address all housing.
Mhm.
And that went for a while, and when we didn't get the ready funding, it was just like, it was a lot of effort for nothing.
I mean, how many houses get built in the county in a year? Isn't it? It's like 20, something like that the last few years, I want to say.
Yeah, I think it's probably more than that.
I don't think it is much more than 20.
I have no idea. How many building permits are pulled every year? We could look that up.
Yeah,
We could.
that's a
You could
number you
ask
could
your
use.
friend AI, he'd know.
No way I would not know that because our government records aren't online, so I can't.
There you
I
go.
can't use AI for Brown County government stuff.
I mean, you could certainly bring in I think the idea is that you guys are a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Rather than someone who is a business, a Mike Nichols Log Homes, which is,
Yeah,
I'm a guy who represents my business.
And I
But
think-
they also represent, an entire industry, and I don't know how to represent that
But
better.
I'm thinking Mike Nichols might build more homes in the county than anybody. And I don't know how many he does in a year. I don't know that there's any person that does more than one or two or three.
Yeah,
Might
it's lengthy.
Habitat might be putting out more homes than anybody.
Denny Parman does quite a few, Peaceful Valley.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Well,
But he does a lot of, taking them down and putting them back up again, kind of log homes.
Well, a lot of them, they are contractors that have built homes forever, but I'm thinking about somebody like Chris Todd, he does one at a time.
mhm. Well, yeah, that's about all you can get done in a year.
Yeah.
And then again, it goes back to the whole infrastructure piece. So,
Right.
there's very little buildable land.
Mhm.
So we come full circle again.
So, yeah, here we go.
So I don't know how it involves us, except that to some extent, it does feel like they're doing the same kind of work that we're doing. And
Yeah.
if that EDC goes through the process, then, that may mean that we are
Well,
doing some of the work that we're doing, but we'd have to really differentiate ourselves from that.
But until that exists, I mean, if that still has to get through government, multiple levels of government approval,
Well, but,
who knows?
you know, I go back to my initial question is, you know, why do we exist? Because it's so very, very base, it's
Yeah.
very specific in statute as to what authority we have to do what, and it's declare EDAs and do a tip.
Well, it's clear what special ability we have, but we don't have, there's very, if I remember properly, there's a lot, it doesn't say a lot about what we can't do. Right? It says this is your specific authority, but everything you're not prohibited from doing is something you could do, I think. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
It almost doesn't identify a need. There's no need that's been identified. What's the problem?
That's, we don't have a plan, so we don't
Now
know.
we don't have a problem.
It's-
Plan's the solution. What's the problem?
Well, the plan would hopefully
I
identify.
mean, you look at the census tracts, look at the income levels on census tracts. What do you want to, you know, what's your target? What would be your goal for redevelopment of particular areas? And, you know, is it,
That's kind of gets back to what,
I mean, the
you
problem-
had to have had some development to require redevelopment. They're just not.
just like Ellsworth, nothing's stopping anybody. If we got infrastructure and help, go forth to good things.
But without a sewer, that's not gonna
Well,
happen.
they got sewer.
Okay, right.
Good sewers.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah, and
They've got funding for new plant. They got customers,
Mhm.
a plan to get customers in there. So there's your area. And I just talked to people and people around there, last I heard, they don't want to sell their land. A lot of people, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
They like it just fine. Thank you very much. So it's not like,
They're unhappy and they're begging for something
yeah,
new.
exactly.
Yeah.
Now Bean Blossom, they get their sewers, go forth, do good things. You know, you don't need a tip. Well, it's too late. You already got the infrastructure. You don't need a tip to do it. They already got it.
mhm.
I don't think a tip would be legal in something like that. It's supposed to be a last resort. So they get the sewers, go forth, do good things. So if you got a developer who wants to do things in there, nothing's stopping you from doing that.
And we don't fit in that niche of, we have blighted areas, so we're gonna condemn your property and take it and redevelop it. That's not,
Yeah, we don't have blight. Yeah, we're not a city. We don't have blighted areas.
And I'm pretty sure if we tried to do that.
Yeah.
Well, they
It'd be
attempted
bad
to
for
do
us.
this a few years ago.
yeah, they
They
tried,
try to do it. Yeah.
That
they
was,
tried.
That was Justin's big thing.
yeah, and if you know, people want to buy property, inherit property, let it melt down, they can do that. As long as there's not a health hazard, they can do it.
I got one in my neighborhood. I heard the woodpecker this morning as I walked by and I'm like, that is the loudest woodpecker ever. But yeah, eating the house alive, but it's been sitting there the whole time
Yeah.
I've lived there.
You know, people are free to do that. And then, you know, you have that fad where we're gonna clean things up. It's like, good luck on that one. Talking about opening up a nuclear bomb, you just did it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Better.
Well, but I like the goal of it. I think, you know, the idea is, and a lot of these, that no, people are not paying their taxes on them. So the idea is to turn that that property that's not paying taxes, you know, turn that blighted property into a home, affordable home, and then have people live in it, and then it becomes a taxable.
But if they're not paying
Asset.
taxes, doesn't it go to sheriff's sale?
It goes to sheriff's sale and
But,
they sell them.
yeah, but then, okay, but then you got to wait, what is it, a year? And the people can come back and claim it, and who
Yes.
wants to then insure it and all that?
People do
stuff?
it.
Well, you don't have to insure it. I don't think for that year, and then
You
even
look
if they,
for
even if
liability.
they pay it, then they owe you interest if
Well,
you bought it.
But
never
point
done a
being,
sheriff's sale,
you know,
yeah.
we had looked at that, it's like, you can't have your money sitting there for a year, you know.
5%.
But this was what was the land trust part of it though?
Interest
Like
rates for
it
trees.
didn't go into, I think that was the difference. It goes into a land
land
trust.
They call it, yeah,
Yeah,
the land bank was the name of it.
land
Yeah.
bank, yeah.
Yeah. But that is cost. There's a cost to maintain a
Like,
land
They
bank.
had it on ready funds. I think they had 600,000, maybe something like that.
Yeah, I think he said he had the money lined up. He had everything lined
There's
up,
no,
but
there's no prep on bids in the county to kick in the
Right.
matching grant. There's
Right.
no presentation. It's hard to understand what it was. you were doing.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, and people who are, they're,
well,
they
get the
want their property and
Yeah.
it was a hard concept for people
That's
to,
a biggie. I
to
mean,
see.
a lot of good effort went into that,
Mhm.
but man, and you understood the culture. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, duck fault is leave us the heck alone.
Mhm. Yep.
That's why we're here.
Yeah,
So that's the part of the culture that's kind of nice for people to understand if we can communicate that. People are shocked when I bring up these things. And then the same thing on the other issue is I think, somebody brought up, the emergency service, you know, response time on ambulances. And it's like, okay, but historically here, you know, you don't have those services. That's a constraint. You're not gonna have a 24/7
Mhm.
emergency care. You know, you've got a couple of ambulances. That's it. You're on your own. You know, you can wait for an ambulance to get to you. You could
Mhm.
meet us somewhere on your own, but typically, because you don't have those medical facilities, the pattern has been, people get to the point, they want to retire here, live 20 or 30 years in a rural area. They get to the point where they need the medical services or assisted living or whatever, and they,
Go near their kids.
and then they flip and you do the next generation coming down. That's been, I've heard that from several realtors. That's been a constant. And a lot of people I know fell into that.
Mhm.
You know, you get to a certain point of your grandkids move somewhere else and so they go that. But that's been a predictable pattern. But, you know, people say, well, let's just get more emergency services down here, more of this or more of that. It's like, now you're talking into demand. What's the population here?
Well, the other group that we have is people who come down here and build a giant house or buy a giant house, live here for 1 winter or 2 winters and say, this isn't for me. And then they leave.
Yep.
I remember one house with purple carpet that we had on the log cabin tour, and they had built this giant, 2 winters, and that was it. Off of I had country club or the other road there. Anyway, it was right there, and you were just like, yeah, and it wasn't that far from town, but it was a really difficult driveway, and I'm sure the electricity went out all the time, and whatever, and that was just not quite. It wasn't quite as fun as they thought it was going to be.
Then people don't realize unique characteristics of living in a rural area if you're coming from an urban area.
Right. And that's the pattern that we've also always identified is the folks who come, isn't this going to be great? And then find that it's,
Power 10 times. in
Yeah.
3
Don't
months.
realize they need to have a chainsaw and truck.
that's right. So,
And then you have,
and 4-wheel drive.
Can you?
or you just stay home.
But see, that's what I mean, culture is telling that story. Though that story isn't told, we pass it on. I'd love to get that in writing.
Right.
Explain to people, this is kind of what we are, and it very significantly, I mean, the Lakes is a whole different culture.
Right.
No, yeah.
Elkinsville, story, whole different culture.
Right.
Rich, different culture. Townsville, I mean, you name it, it's all a little different.
Mhm.
But that's what makes it kind of unique and attractive.
Okay.
And then Nashville's Nashville, that's what I'd like to capture that story and people can say, we like it, it's just fun, thank you very much.
Mhm.
The whole thing, and the big challenge I think you'd have is fire protection. Do you ever want to get to that point?
We're talking about that now, and it's the cost.
It's the cost.
Yeah.
How do other places pay for it though?
They have.
Pardon me?
How do other places pay for their fire protection?
Taxes.
Yeah.
Right.
Go up.
So in other words, we're not willing to,
Well,
and I do
that's
tell people,
That's
we,
utility rates.
and
It's
I-
different. It's different. than that.
yeah, but I mean, it's also like we do get what we pay for. We don't pay a lot for paving our roads. We don't pay for a lot of things. And therefore we have decided our priorities are that, we're not going to have a full-time fire department.
If you have a fire department, you'd like to have water. So we don't,
Right.
and look at our terrain. That's not cost
Right.
effective.
Right.
We can't afford that because of the density of the thing. So it's a complicated thing. But people just think, well, like, where's my fire?
Yeah.
Well, did you understand?
Yeah.
Where you're moving. in
Right.
our-
Right.
So
Right.
I'd love to communicate that, just explain to people, like, you catch the history, the knowledge from people, and that story we don't tell. It's
Yeah.
discussions like this what comes out.
Well, and our church is that way because there's a overall conference that says your church is too old, you're going to die. And we're like, No, we're not, because we have a renewing refresher of retirees who come in and they just keep renewing. And so, yeah, you're in that upper age bracket, but they just keep coming. And so we have, my entire life for 50 years,
And
we,
people don't understand that. They
Yeah.
think we have an older population and they think that it's stagnant and they're gonna die here.
Yeah.
That's not the
No.
case.
They move out and other old ones move
Yeah.
in.
You have some, generational people
Sure.
lived here, you got that, but the ones that move here, they're not gonna die
Yeah,
here. They're
right.
gonna-
but those little country churches you see in farm communities, that is the case. The church gets down to, 2 families and, and nobody's taken over the farm and those churches do die. And I understand that. But yeah, I'm like, we literally have and I think the pastor just told me that we're within the membership's within 3 people of what it was 20 years ago when we rebuilt the church. So it just renews itself. And that's a great thing. I mean, that's why people come here. They're finding people who are their same age and their stage in life. And that's where they go to make friends. And it's a thing. And then I saw that our average age is 63 now, and up from 56 to 63. And I was like, yeah, wow.
We're the oldest demographic in the state.
Yeah, they said this is the oldest
Yeah,
one.
people
the
go, oh my
county.
God, we're all dying. It's like all these people 20 years from now, they'll all be dead. And so we'll look at all the available housing, but that's not gonna happen.
They can all move into
Nobody's
short.
gonna be able to
Well,
afford it.
but that's the thing. If we had a problem, the houses that when they came up for sale would not sell.
But they
Right?
do.
I mean,
And they do
they
sell.
move
They do
quick.
sell.
But a lot are second homes
Yeah,
or
Or-
tourist homes.
We encourage that. We're built
Yeah.
for that.
yeah.
But
But that
that's,
second home becomes, that's.
A lot of them buy
I
it
see a lot-
early.
Yeah, they buy
And
it.
they buy it and then the land or the house, and then they continue working and they either do weekends and then they decide whether they'll like it here. And then they build the house and then they come here to retire.
Mhm.
I don't know how many people I've talked to exactly.
Yeah, that's the
From
pattern.
Chicago.
Yeah.
I've just met guys from Minneapolis, they just moved here 2 months ago.
See, and that's why I get when you talk quality of life and economic development, what are you solving for?
Mhm.
I struggle. What are you solving for? I don't think we're broke.
Because people still want to come here, but then they come here and they want to improve it.
change it.
They want it to be Carmel and it's not going to be that. So,
It's like,
Or you love the folks that buy 100 acres and put their house on an acre and then put 99 acres into classified forest. So we have, it's just different. Acknowledge what we are. And then it's like, well, we want to develop this. Really? I would argue that we're not broke.
mhm,
Or show me that segment where we are broke.
mhm,
Or if I'm a developer here and want the government to finance me, okay, great.
Mhm.
But we really haven't demanded that. I'm all recall one tax abatement at the library property that we've had that I'll recall in the
Mhm.
history of the county.
mhm,
One. And that never made it through because it wasn't viable, for him to build one tax abatement. Because
Right.
you attract developers down here because you got a market down
Right.
here.
Right.
I mean, tourists.
We don't have to offer an abatement. Yeah.
You don't.
Well, and it's already rather cheap. So,
We keep our property tax
because we
low.
keep our property taxes very low.
That's how you build.
Well, and I say that, I remember actually when we made this decision, which was we made the decision not to bring in big business. Like, I remember when they wanted to put the Edinburgh Mall was almost in Brown County. And they suggested putting it here first. And we said, no, we don't want that. It was gonna go over by the IGA somewhere. And we're like, no, we don't want an outlet mall. Yeah. And we've had other companies and, factories or things that, no, and just like our little village, right? We have the village that you cannot have you can't, not only the lights, but you can't have a chain restaurant. Like you can't have a Starbucks in the center of the village. You can have it, where the Moose starts, I think, where they had a Taco Bell and a KFC at one point in CVS. You can have those. Yeah, but you could, right, that's outside of the actual village. Inside the village, you cannot have a chain, you can't have certain lights, you have to have certain color paint. And so that's how we've maintained that, but that's a decision we made. And I agree with you a lot of times about that. That's a decision that we have made to be this type of community. But the result of that is that we don't have a lot of funds to spend. We have 30% of our land that's government or nonprofits or forest.
I
You know?
guess 70% is non-taxable.
Actually, you did that for me when we did the housing partnership.
it.
She
I
did
know,
an
and I called-
analysis.
I called down to the assessor's office.
Yeah.
And she said 30 because 50's always been,
Yeah, what we've heard.
You know,
yeah.
and
I
said,
wondered if that was true. Yeah.
yeah, and I asked, if she'd tell me who was not
Mhm.
paying,
Mhm.
they had property tax exemption.
Right.
And it came up 30%. And I thought it's gotta be more than that, but
Is that not counting state land, maybe?
Probably not counting.
any property in the county that was exempt from property tax,
Which should
which
include
would be the
states.
state national.
Classified forest is not exempt. It's just reduced.
One of
Yeah,
the-
that's a piece.
Would include the classified on land and classified force. It's taxed on much.
I was surprised because I'd always heard the
Yeah,
50.
well, and I think we all just throw numbers around. I don't know.
Yeah,
if we
you
know.
look at a map and you go.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot more than probably any other county.
Well, then-
90% of statistics are made up on the fly.
Well, that ought to be able to get you to know what parcels you have, whether or not
Right.
you're collecting tax on.
Right. That should be a very simple number.
You would think.
Well, and then I think about all the camps, like have hundreds of acres, like
Or
how
the
many?
nonprofits.
The nonprofits and the churches have big tracts of land. So, but then we say, why don't we have enough property tax for our schools or for other things we want to do? Well, that's one reason why, we have a low tax rate and we have very few taxpayers.
But the ones you do.
And they keep getting a little richer, right? Yeah.
Level gets up. I mean, I've had out before $510 million of taxable income that we generated. Such as the 20 million in wages that tourism generates.
Yeah. What'd you say? It's five times
510 million.
510 is what?
Dollars total
From
adjusted gross income.
No, that's-
Adjusted
From
gross
income
income.
tax.
That's our taxable.
Okay.
Tax base. AGI.
Mhm. And that's the people who live here
Yes,
and often work elsewhere.
yes.
Okay.
77% of our wages are earned outside the county.
But if you live here, you still pay county income tax. And we're one of the
Yes,
highest
do.
county income taxes there is.
Yeah, we're in the top 15.
If you work. Do I pay it?
If you
I don't,
earn income, you don't have to work to earn.
And so I just live off retirement. So.
depends on what portion that's taxable or not.
Yeah.
So it's just unique. Those are the kind of stories I love to tell. That's what you have. in
You do.
business plan, because people don't understand. So and call it a constraint, but call it
Right.
those are choices that people.
They're choices that we have made.
They're, and they vary by area. That's interesting, not just the tax.
Right.
People want, why don't you have skyscrapers down there? Look how many apartments you get in.
We have made a lot of decisions that do that. But I mean, we do the same thing with the schools, right? Like how are you going to spend your money? How are you going, how do you maintain your properties? We're not going to build some big fancy school, right? That's what other communities do and they build and they're gorgeous and I love to go look at them, but we are going to maintain our very nice buildings that we have and we're going to continue to maintain them. And you got to go around just like the county, you got to go around to each one and, everybody needs some attention every so often. And that takes money to do that. And we expect that. It is a community good though. It is people walk on our track and people, use our schools for meetings and for voting. And, we are community centered in rural communities. The school is the place and often the only ADA accessible place that we can do things. And so we consider ourselves, again, part of the greater community good in that sense. So.
Good discussion.
Yeah.
So what are we gonna, new business, the only thing I have down here is what's our November, December agendas? What are we doing the rest of the year?
Christmas party, December.
Okay,
Yeah, we can.
So we got.
Okay, well, that's a good idea.
we got December done, party.
All right.
Well, let's look at the date though, because the third Tuesday or the fourth, no, what are we, the third Tuesday? Okay, that's November 18th. So that's not Thanksgiving week. That was just what I was thinking. And then the third Tuesday is December 16th.
We have this RFP. Talk about depending on where that gets, I don't know.
We still gotta find out about.
I'll bring in some exhibits on the zoning and the zoning materials. The things
Be a great
that
idea.
I'll
That'd be
share at
good.
meetings so you can see where we're at.
Got the zoning. and all that, because I looked through that several times, I just never saw the
Yeah.
map, just a proposed one for the changes.
Well, they have 8.5 by 8.5 by 11 is what we have in the county, and we just see if I can blow those up.
Okay. So zoning, Tim and David. Yeah, right.
Hey, Chris, we'll just redevelop your area while we're at it. Is it any big up with the
You want me to help?
the Woodstock?
Good
Woodstock
luck, brother.
event?
You're
Woodstock
done,
event
you're
down
I am.
You are, what, where?
Shepherd Road, so it's a little one-lane gravel road. It looks like a driveway, but it's actually a county road, and I love it, because,
You're the only one on there,
Yeah.
aren't you?
no,
No,
there's like 10 houses on it, but I'm
Is that-
clear at the very back.
off 135.
Yeah, it's about a mile north of Van Buren.
Okay,
So if you kind of go up the hill and down, and it's on the left.
See if we can put a resort in the
Yeah.
neighborhood.
do you
No,
need a
I'm
piece of candy?
I'm good.
Okay.
Cause I butt up,
Nothing
the
else.
back of my property butts up to, Patty Bartels.
Oh, okay,
And so, they've got
Yeah,
thousands
yeah,
of acres
yeah.
back there, and then she connects to Gnawbone.
yeah,
So it's kind of fantastic. 'Cause then
Bartels are off of, the other road.
The Ridge Road, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Shepherd Road comes back up, so, and I got some property that goes back, they have some property, they just have a bunch of property, but they butt up to each other. But because of that, essentially, and both sides of me are property owned by people that don't live on them, without houses on them.
no, really.
So I'm like at the back of this thing, just buried in the woods, and it's fantastic. So if anybody there, Tim, you might see me show up to the meetings.
Well, I mean, added to that, we were talking about, people used to come here because they wanted to disappear. They wanted to do whatever alternative lifestyle that they wanted to do, and they didn't feel like they could do it there, so they would come here to do it, and that's how we have the commune, I think. Excuse me. And those types of things, so.
I used to live on X Grove Road,
Okay.
1 mile into the county. I was in the county.
I'm sorry, I'm coughing here, I'm gonna go.
Okay, well, thank you.
All right, thank you, I'll
Hope
see
you feel
you.
better.
Let me know what happens next time.
We'll send an email.
Okay.
Thank you.
You guys got the football thing in?
We voted on Monday.
Yeah. Bo Break was the only one with it.
Okay, so
Your audio.
maybe we'll just continue that.
What?
Your audio.
Oh,
Yeah.
Our RFP
Well, it
update.
might have been
We'll
quick.
just do our.
The land inventory.
Then we'll see about. the
Get what?
land inventory.
Land inventory, been working on that. for 3
Okay, and
months.
land
I
inventory.
mean,
If it
What-
has
I mean,
to
we're
be.
almost to the end of our tenure here. so-
Yeah, and I'm not re-upping, are you?
that.
No, I'm on
And then
the,
Doug-
I got a utilities commission, which is where I wanted to be.
Did you? Yeah,
Yeah, I know something about the talking,
We're saying
this stuff is like
more information, he looked
Yeah.
at it, he thought about it,
cumulus cloud.
learned everything about it.
I mean, I might stick around.
Is it
past
the
year,
county?
Just because,
You know.
yeah, somebody's.
I do in Jeremiah, I mean.
well, I mean, yeah, at least,
I think.
I feel like they need one person at this executive section to be like, okay, so here's what we did last year. But here's the game, plan. Here's some borderlines to follow. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, we need one
It would be
historian.
good for consistency, that like you're here, you
Yeah.
were on the last one, it's like you need at least one number.
So,
By the
you're
way,
in.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Something like that, it's always tough to get.
I was